Hello and welcome to a Unity 3D tutorial. This time we'll be taking a look at the Cinemachine system and how it works. So as you can see, I've set up a basic scene that features a standard camera and the Adam character model I downloaded from the Unity asset store, which I've set up with the walking animation for the purpose of testing. This animation is currently set to loop and will walk continuously. On playing the scene, we can see that the character moves but nothing special is happening with the camera, and this is where the Cinemachine system comes into play. So first off, I'm going to go to the Unity Asset Store and search for Cinemachine. It should be simple to find and quickly installed at the touch of a button. Just to note, the Cinemachine system does require Unity 2017.1.1 or higher, so make sure to have that version installed. Right, so now that's installed, we can get down to understanding the Cinemachine system and its components. Before we start any work with the Cinemachine system itself, first I'd like to create a timeline that everything can sit inside of. Go ahead and select Windows, then Timeline if you don't already have the Timeline tab open. Now you want to right click and create an empty game object. We're going to go ahead and reset the position of this object as well as name it something more relevant, as this is where the timeline is going to sit. Okay, now that's all done, it's time to actually create a timeline. Click Create on the timeline window and save it somewhere relevant to the project. You should now see the newly created timeline appear, but we want to delete this and instead click Add an animation track. From here we are able to drag and drop our Adam character prefab, as well as right click, add from animation clip, and define whatever clip we have used. In this case it was the walk animation. With all this now set up, we can clearly see that the character is moving along a looping timeline, which I am able to extend or reduce depending on the length I want the animation to be. By having a quick scrub through this, we can see that the camera we have set up does not follow the character at all, and is currently in a static still position. With the timeline created, we are now able to dive headfirst into the Cinemachine system. First off, select the main camera in the scene and head on over to the Add Components. Select the Cinemachine Brain property, which can easily be found by searching or manually clicking through the menus. We don't need to worry about changing any of these settings just yet, and if all is done correctly, you should see this symbol next to the scene's camera. We are now able to create a new Cinemachine camera by going to Cinemachine and selecting Create Virtual Camera. This will add a new virtual camera to the scene, and you might have noticed it's taking control of the main camera. This is good as it will allow us to create multiple virtual cameras that are all linked to the same main camera, allowing for a number of cool different shots. I'm now going to move my first virtual camera around in order to get the perfect shot of the character walking. This camera will be the first viewpoint in the cutscene, and I want the position to be just in front of Adam to get a sort of follow shot as he's walking along. With the position all sorted, it's now time to test and see how this shot will look. Unfortunately, on playback we can see that the camera still isn't following Adam, and this is because we didn't give the virtual camera anything specific to look at. So go ahead and drop the Adam prefab into the follow box located on the virtual camera. This may reset the position of the virtual camera like it did in my scene, so it's always best to fill in the follow or look at properties before you position the initial camera. On playback this time we can clearly see that the virtual camera we've set up is working as intended, and will continuously follow the Adam model. A quick note here is that the position of the camera can actually be changed inside of the body property, allowing the user to input a specific position. The whole point of the Cinemachine system is to allow for multiple cameras, so we're going to go ahead and create another virtual camera in the same way as the last one. This time around I think I'm going to use a sort of look at feature, so I want to position the camera in a way that will look good as a pan shot while Adam walks past. As mentioned, this camera will use the look at feature, and something very interesting here is that we can pick a root bone on Adam to look at, which will allow for a more specific shot in the cutscene. You will also see this time around we have some guidelines to help us position the shot. Going ahead with the play here, we can see that as default the system is only showing the first camera. The reasoning behind this lies inside of the priority property located on any virtual camera. Inside this system, the camera with the highest priority will be displayed on playback, as well as inside of the game tab. With this quick change we can now see what this camera will look like in play. Great, so now that we can see that's working, I want to quickly talk about some of these screen properties that can be changed. As previous with the body section, this aim section will allow us to change a certain number of properties such as the X and Y values of the screen and the dead zone in which the yellow marker will follow. If I was to enlarge the dead zone's width, on play you can now see that the virtual camera will stay static until the target area reaches the end of the dead zone. I've gone ahead and created a third camera which is using the follow property again. I placed it just behind the character's left shoulder. Another feature I want to talk about is this solo button. This will quickly allow you to see the camera's view without changing the actual camera priority and can be very useful when planning shots. Okay, cool, so now with all these three cameras set up and in place, we can finally move back to that timeline we created at the start. As you can see, everything moves along with the character, but we don't actually have the cameras set up on the timeline as of yet. To do this, we want to select the main camera and drag it over to the timeline, release it and select Cinemachine track. Now we have this, we are able to right click on the main camera track and select Cinemachine shot clip. After a quick resize, I can easily drag my first camera over to the Cinemachine shot property and drop it in. This will add Virtual Camera 1 to my timeline, and I will do the same for the rest. Okay, now that all my cameras are on, let's give it a quick play and see how it looks. As you can see, it is looking good, but there is something missing just between shots 2 and 3. One of the greater things about the Cinemachine system is that we can blend virtual cameras together easily, allowing for a smooth transition from one camera to another. All we need to do to achieve this is to drag one clip over the other, creating this slanted line. This represents the transition between the two shots and the amount of time it will take to blend the two clips together. Clearly from the playback, the clip is now blended together instead of being a straight jump, but let's go ahead and play the scene anyway. And there you have it, the completed scene using the test settings I created. This system is super easy to use and great for creating in-game cutscenes or camera transitions. Just as a final example, I've set up these cameras inside of an animation I've created to show off the power of Cinemachine and how easy it is to put into play. Using just a few simple camera angles, I am able to execute this shot easily, showing off everything I want. Okay, so I hope this tutorial helped everyone understand the Cinemachine system and how effective it can be used when used correctly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.